Hey, everybody, this is Mike, and you're watching the Reelblack podcast. And today we have the honor and privilege of being with a young man who has written a great new book called Historical Black Americans. We're with today Professor Lazarus.
Introducing Historical Black Americans, a powerful journey through history. Discover 33 Black American heroes who overcame adversity and shaped our nation's destiny. Authored by Professor Lazarus, this book is a tribute to the importance of telling history's truth in its proper context. Empower young minds to uncover the history of America and embrace the courage that paved the way for change.
Welcome to the Reelblack podcast. So, you reached out, you sent me this book. I'm like, wow, there's names of people in here that I don't even know. And I'm not going to say my age.
No, I
But
appreciate your honesty,
we saw the trailer. What can you tell us about the book?
Okay, so it's the book's titled Historical Black Americans. So like I said, yeah, it's a book for young adults. I basically targeted that middle school range in terms of the reading level and the language. And I chose that age group because that's the age group of my two sons. Um, So I wanted to write something that, if they saw the book on the shelf, they could relate to. And also I wanted to, kind of lead by example. I wanted them to see me working on a project that had a little bit of importance and significance. So that's why I chose that group. I also, when I was doing research, I noticed that most books like this, biography books like this, are they're usually for little kids. You know what I'm saying? Like uh, and I wanted to have something again, like I said, for that my kids could look at and say, "Oh, that's interesting. Let me, check that out."
So the age range would be from
So on the book, it's worded like grade 6 to 9.
okay.
Like I said, it's more that middle school range. But on Amazon, it's 12 and up.
It seems like it's alphabetical, but it also feels
Yes.
chronologic, you know.
It just kind of worked out that way for a little while. Like, once you like I said, you'll get in there and then it'll jump to some people that it wasn't in chronological order by year. But in the beginning, it did kind of work out that way, which I thought was interesting. And that's what I love about when I work on projects like these, a lot of times I tell people, let the research guide you, right? And that kind of neat thing that you're talking about, that just happened. I didn't, plan that, but the research just made it happen on its own.
Well, how did you choose the people that are in the book?
Okay, that's a great question actually, because I thought for this particular project, because it's the first one, I wanted to focus on more so Black intellectuals, um, Black civil rights activists, because I think the theme that I really wanted to focus on here is to inspire young individuals who have that inner flame, that inner resistance, that inner, you know, um, desire to bring change. I wanted to speak to that crowd because I know those kids are out there. I feel like somewhere in here that kid is still alive in me.
Hmm.
And the other thing about it is, when I was picking the people, I kind of because I feel like we're always shown the actors and the athletes. Not that I don't love actors and athletes, but you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like there's not enough focus on the Black intellectual. So that's why I picked this group of people, just to kind of
Okay. Well,
separate from the pack.
let's do it. For example, yeah, a lot of Philadelphians mentioned here.
Oh yeah, you noticed that, yeah.
I see
I'm
Richard
glad you I'm
Allen
glad.
is mentioned,
Yeah.
and
Cecil B. Moore's in
Cecil
there.
B. Moore. Yes.
Mhm.
So Philadelphians would know those names, if not just from the names of the streets. Cecil B. Moore Avenue, Richard
Right.
Allen Holmes, Octavius Catto is another Philadelphian.
Mhm.
But I mean, just randomly. I mean, like tell us about some of the people that are mentioned in the book here.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Octavius Catto because that was actually I picked that one because my mother actually suggested that I add him to the book. So that's how he made the roster. But yeah, with the whole Philadelphia thing, again, I appreciate you bringing me in for this Real Black. But I knew you were out of Philly, so I figured
Hmm.
people from this area will notice that. I mean, because what I found out, doing the research is just the whole history of Philadelphia. kind of always having this history of being a black city. So that's why you have all these great people in black history who were either born here or died here or at some point did something important here. So
Right.
and as a Philadelphian, as somebody who was born in Philadelphia, graduated from Simon Gratz, you know what I'm saying? Like I take pride in that. I like seeing that people who came out of Philly did big things in the world. Gives me hope.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll put it out this way. I spent 8 years in Philadelphia public grade schools.
Okay, okay.
Every month, every February, it was Black History Month, and we learned about the same four people: Harriet
Yes.
Tubman, George Washington Carver, Martin Luther King, and who else did we get? That was about it. We didn't even get four. Like, so I
Right.
know them up and down. Oh, Frederick Douglass, maybe.
Right, Frederick Douglass, and in fairness, all those names except for Martin Luther King Jr. are in this book. I did want it to be, familiar. I didn't want to, have it be too far of people that no one has
Right.
ever heard of. I wanted it to be relatable to people who are, I guess, casually reading. But yeah, no, I'm glad that you said, or I appreciate you
Right.
saying, there are people in there that you didn't never heard of before, because I wanted it to be
Yeah.
balanced.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but the well goes a lot deeper than those four names,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
So
oh yeah, oh yeah. There's some writers in this book, man.
and there's a lot of people they'll argue that Black history is American history, but I still feel the need. I still feel like we need this book. We need to have our own history chronicled and documented. Can you
And
speak to that?
yeah, no, so what I was gonna say to that, when you said that, what I thought of in my head was, when I was a kid, and part of writing this book was remembering this moment as a kid, right? So, when I was in elementary school, I don't remember what grade, let's say first, second grade, somewhere in there. I remember noticing that every time we were learning about somebody in Black history, it said a Black male, a Black woman, a Black this, a Black that. But in every other history class, it didn't identify their race. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it jumped out to me as weird, even as a little kid. I was like, why is this so structured?
Right.
Why is this so, every single time there's no exceptions? None.
They normalize whiteness in the history
Right.
books.
And right, that's normalized. Not only that, but then our thing is always separate. Right. So, to answer your question, like, I just wanted to embrace that that's the situation we're in. It's like, okay, so that's our label. Fine. Now we're going to embrace that as Black Americans. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, okay, that's what it is. Cool. This is what we're going to do now. We're going to, look at our history and draw our strength from our ancestors. I have no problem
Absolutely.
with that. Yeah.
I'm just going through the list again. I mean, just we're talking to Professor Lazarus, who has written the book Historical Black Americans, which you can find wherever you find books, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's on Amazon and Kindle. And then I did go ahead, like you said, roll it out. I'm pretty sure if you go to like a Barnes and Nobles, you can request it and not have to order it. But if you go to Amazon right now, Amazon.com, search for Historical Black Americans, it'll come right up.
Okay. I was looking for Marcus Garvey, but I guess he'll make the next edition.
Yeah.
Now
And
one thing.
oh,
Okay.
well, and the other thing too, from Garvey was Jamaican, right?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering if you cross
Yeah.
Pan African levels.
Right, right. So I was thinking of maybe having like a book for, other writers throughout the diaspora. That's the thing, like, because this is my first um attacking this type of book, this is my first venture like this. I'm kind of just discovering as I go along, right? Like, it's very new to me. But
Mhm.
I actually have enough people for a follow-up to this book already in the chamber.
Mm.
So you know what I'm saying? So it's like
So
I just
buy
haven't
this book so
decided.
we can get part two.
Right, right. Part two of this, and then to your point, we can do this about all types of different subjects within, Black history around the world. Honestly, I mean, even we could do uh, a Black filmmakers book. You know what I mean?
Okay. So this
Black
this is like
thespians.
a FBA style book. Foundational Black Americans are basically covered here.
In that one, yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say that I have to double check because yeah, that
There might be
I'm
one or
not
two.
100. Yeah, there might be one or two who weren't born here, maybe.
Okay. I mean that's a big deal to a lot of people for some reason,
Okay,
but I mean to me
okay.
black is black is black to quote Q-tip, but
No,
um,
so I mean, I understand. So my thing is, like what we just talked about in America, you're black, period. Like that's how America views you, whether you like it or not. You can accept it. You figure out how to move within that, but we're not making the rules around here, right? So,
mhm,
but with that said, so yeah, I see somebody on the street, they're black, I'm black, we're all black. The world sees us as black together. But I understand the part where as Black Americans specifically, because I can think in my head and picture the picture of my Native American grandmother on the wall, or great great grandmother on the wall of my grandmother's house. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
So like I feel that connection, but I feel like we haven't been, or rather, it seems like there's always some backlash when we get together and say, okay, this is a black thing, it's like a problem for everybody, right? But like when other groups do it, it's cool. You allowed to wave your flag and all that. So I think because it's been so backwards for so long, I'm cool with people feeling this need to, circle the wagons and almost kind of like bulldog Black pride and just go hard with it because we've been going so in the opposite direction. We got some catching up to do. We got, we
Well,
might have to play like James Brown on Black and I'm Proud on a 24-hour loop for a couple weeks to get
well,
everybody's mind right.
when you bring economics into the story, then it becomes cut the check and who's entitled to the check and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I completely understand why people are who are watching this are B1 and FBA and all that stuff.
Okay,
But
so that's a great no, because now I want to ask you, would you consider like because would are you considered part of like the what is the new black media because you have a big YouTube channel
well,
following?
I'm by default we are. I mean, I don't. Oh
Yeah.
shit! What just happened to the camera? Oh, you can still hear me, right?
Oh yeah. I can hear you,
See,
but I
the
lost your visual.
revolution will not be televised.
Right, they hating us. They hating us on Streamyard.
To answer your question, yeah, I think Real Black is part of the new black media, but we don't go as hard in the paint as say
Yeah.
Black Truth or Yvette Carnell.
Right. Right. There's another professor out there.
He's kicking ass and taking names, Professor Lazarus.
Right.
But um, I just think because my position is black, that we have no right to call one another names in public, right? So there might be some people that lick boots. There might be some people that go against other black people, and they should be called out. I just choose not to be the one to make a living off of that.
Right. Right.
So
No, I feel.
for me, it's just about providing the information and then letting people decide
Yeah.
what it is that they want to eat. So
Yeah.
it's a buffet
Hmm.
when you come
Yeah.
to Real Black TV.
I'm a lot closer to your approach. I feel like I'm a lot more hands off. I kind of just say, okay, here's the thing, but the thing I'm showing you in my mind is a mental exercise for your mind. You know what I'm saying? So you
Exactly.
can, yeah,
But so
right, 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 right.
what I
That's real.
choose to do with the opportunity to share things is to bring people like yourself on and say, like, look, if you've got kids who are of
Right.
a certain age, middle school
12 and
to
up.
eighth
Yeah.
grade, have this in your library. It's a quick read, it's an easy thing for people to pick up and flip through and learn. Like when I was a kid, I probably read outside of my reading level all the time just because things were around the house.
Mike, Mike, you remember those old encyclopedias, those burgundy
Yeah.
encyclopedias, the old joints? I used to just sit and read the encyclopedias, my guy.
Hmm.
Like,
Well, we couldn't afford the burgundy. We had the white ones, the world books. We didn't get the burgundy encyclopedias. But yeah, I mean that's how people learn. You get out of
yeah.
curiosity. Now I'm curious. The artwork, the drawings in the
Okay. Yeah,
book.
we could talk about that.
I mean, some of these people existed before photography. How did you get these beautiful photographs,
Yo,
renderings of?
Mega Evers. Yeah, that one came out real clean. No, so it's funny that you asked that question because the copyright office, the US Copyright Office actually gave me feedback. They were like, "Wait a minute, did you take these pictures? Because it's kind of impossible for you to have taken some of these pictures." And my response was, the US Copyright Office flatters me right now because they're not real pictures. They were computer generated. I did mostly use Midjourney. Um, but to that point, the approach that I'm using in Midjourney is taking actual pictures, training the AI to make a certain look, and then getting the pictures out that way.
So the
So
photo illustration, so to speak,
so
of
right, it's the
AI.
combination. I'm doing the remix thing where I'm taking actual pictures and letting Midjourney just remix the pictures raw, right? And then I take those pictures and prompt them.
Okay. Well, so that begs
Yeah.
the next question, which is, is the book written with AI? I mean, not that
Right.
it's a
So
bad thing or a good thing, but
well, so I think so here's where I think it's a bad thing. I think because it's funny. I went to Rutgers, right? And
well, answer the
like
question first, yes or no, and then go into your
oh, so no, but I did use AI. That's the thing. I don't want it to be misleading because I did use the AI for the research at first. And when I was doing the research, I noticed that some of the stuff was wrong. A lot of it was whitewashed. There was certain words that it just would not use. Not necessarily bad words. They're true words. Um, and the words are obviously in my book because I put all that stuff, the history, the truth, back in it. But the story I was going to tell you is I went to Rutgers and one of my roommates when I was in college, he's a psychologist now. So he was doing he's a professor, he's doing some teaching and stuff. And some of the kids, when all the chat GPT stuff hit, they were just doing papers on chat GPT, like no reading it, just handing him whatever chat GPT gave him. And he basically said obviously they're cheating or whatever, but these kids aren't, they're not even trying, they're just putting it into the AI, turning the AI in. So yeah, that's where I feel like using AI to, that's plagiarism, right? You're not writing your paper, you're not doing the work. That's where I feel like it's bad. In this case, what I'm hoping I'm doing anyway is I'm hoping that I'm correcting the mistakes of the AI by adding the correct information out into the internet, out into the world, giving it more data, more actual data to use when answering these questions in the future. Um, and then the other thing, this part is kind of creepy and crazy actually when you're asking me about AI.
mhm,
So I was filling out an application for a contest for it's like a short film contest, right? And it asked me a question. It said, say an esoteric idea that most people don't know but should. Okay. So I was just curious. I'm like, how would an AI answer this kind of question? What's an, a idea that most people don't know that they should, right? So I asked the AI, and the AI's response was, well, most people don't know that most AI is actually the data is biased and that it's a known thing that there's this AI data bias that exists and that the answers
wow.
that you're getting from me could be biased. Like the raw honesty of that when I wasn't even asking it to tell me something like that was very eye opening, just about, doing the research and checking the information that you're getting. In the pre-show, I know you were talking about how Wikipedia isn't always accurate. So that's a lot of what this project was for me was just again trying to have
To right the
uh
wrongs, to correct
right, yeah, to
to
correct
correct
right. This is more a correction. No, I think that's a good way to word it. I felt like this book was more of a correction than anything else. So I would go online and kind of try to just cross-reference anything, like any piece of information, get something else to verify that somebody else has that information. Because, like I said, a lot of these people from the 1800s and stuff. So, there are cases where the information just isn't there. But I try to be honest about that in the book, and just let you know when we're not sure necessarily if they were born on this day specifically. That kind
mm.
of stuff.
Who did you learn about in the course of making this book?
Okay, so here's something that I learned over the course of doing the research for this book that I think I'm going to investigate a little further in the near future here. So there's a couple people in the book, off the top of my head, Mary Ellen Pleasant, Frederick Douglass, and I believe Harriet Tubman for sure. But all three of them, in one way or the other, was involved in the ferry, the John Brown uprising.
Mm,
And I feel like that's not really talked about in terms of its significance to the Civil War. So I think that I might dive deeper into how those three were connected to that, because it's funny that same psychologist I was telling you about that went to Rutgers, he was saying for a book like this, because one of my personal stretch goals for this book is to get it at least in one school, right?
Mhm.
And what he was saying is for those kind of things, I should do like speaking events at schools and like have a presentation for the book. So I'm strongly considering doing more research on John Brown and having him be the presentation, because then I can connect those three people who are in the book to that
Right.
event about the Civil War. So that's something that I want, but that's that's the irony of this project, right? Because what happened to me there is what I want to happen to other kids. I want them to read something in this book and say, I need to find out more about that. That is the idea. That is the design of this read.
I don't know, bringing John Brown into public schools, that's a tad dangerous. You might wanna stick to peanuts. I love it. Okay, Professor Lazarus, so where can people find you? Where can people
Okay.
find the book once again?
So the book is available right now on Kindle and Amazon at Amazon.com. You can search for Historical Black Americans. I also have a direct link up for it at neomatrixology.com. That's neomatrixology.com. But yeah, like I said, if you just go to Amazon, it's right there. It's the only one, Historical Black Americans, with that title. So
Thank you, Professor
no,
Lazarus.
thank you for having me. No, I really appreciate this opportunity to share this with everybody, man. Thank you. I'm very,
Hey,
very grateful.
that's
It's hard
that's
to
why we're here.
articulate how thankful I am right now.
That's why we're here.